Testing, testing. This one sounds good. If you could move a little bit so that people can see me.
There we go.
All right, so I'm going to start from here. Way, screen left. Yeah. Let me know when you're ready. All right, we're ready. Okay, thank you. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Rabbi Josh Schreiber, and it's my honor to welcome you here to Agudath Achim in Taunton, and it's my distinct honor to welcome David for this presentation on his work in Nowy Dwor in Poland. And before we start, since this particular is our acknowledgement of Holocaust Memorial Day, which is in a few days in the Jewish calendar, I'd like to invite Ben here to light our 6 candles and our teachers to share a reading. If you have the prayer book, it's on page 156. I'm going to hand out some more of the prayer books for those of you who need them, and then we're going to say the Mourner's Kaddish before I turn it over to David. Thank you.
Merciful Parent who dwells on high, in your great mercy remember in mercy your upright, blameless, and deserving children and their holy communities that were destroyed in their great numbers in the Holocaust. Their lives were taken as they honored your name, beloved and precious in life. Even death cannot separate them from us. May God remember them for goodness along with all the world's righteousness. And let us say, Amen.
Of course, there are 6 candles here to represent the 6 million. It's an awful lot of work that each candle is doing, you imagine, to represent 6 million people. The Mourner's Kaddish can be found, let me go back here, on page 193. Page 193. Please rise as you are able for the Mourner's Kaddish. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דברה חירותה וימליך מלכותה, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב אמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו. לאלה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יהי שלום רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום. עלינו ועל כל ישראל וכל שבטי ואלוהים. Amen. Thank you. And I'd like to turn it over for David.
Am I on now? I'm on now. Well, thank you all for coming. It's an honor to be here in this 114-year-old synagogue. When I was downstairs yesterday after the services, in their case, they have a letter congratulating them from President Obama and a congressional acknowledgement from the United States Congress sponsored by Barney Frank. And as some of you know, Barney is involved in what's going on here, and you'll hear about it later on. It's sort of a shared, we were at a Purim service at our temple, B'nai Shalom in Braintree, when Miriam Leeson was there with her family or friends, Miriam? Family, sorry. The Carls, Steve and Judy Carl, who were friends of ours, and we started talking, and she said, well, why don't you come and do it at our temple? Ended up calling Rabbi Josh, and so here we are. So that Purim festival was Bashert to get me here. So I hope to sort of relate the story. I only have about an hour or so. Each piece of it I could spend hours on, but it'll take you on a journey, and it's current today. I think it's most important that the story gets told today. Most of the time I've done this before young people, and I'm geared towards young people. I've done it at temples, I've done it at Rotary, I've done this at the Holocaust Museum in Washington, I've done it for the Polish Embassy in Washington, and as you'll see later on, Nancy and I just came back from Whitwell, Tennessee, where we did it for the Paperclips kids, the 7th and 8th graders at the Whitwell Middle School. And you'll see, if you don't know what Paperclips is all about, I'll give you a minute or two about that. I'm a second-generation survivor. My dad and mom were both survivors. My father was an Auschwitz survivor. My mother wasn't, but you'll hear both of their stories. And we've been back to Nowy Dwor now many times. Last time was before COVID, and not been able to go back because of COVID, and then after that we wanted to go back because of the war in Ukraine. A lot has happened in the world since then. None of it's good. And I think there's still an opportunity for us to do something about it, and I hope this inspires some people, particularly the younger generation. And they are, when you go to the No Kings rallies, when you go to the various rallies, the women's rallies, there's a whole bunch of young people. And I'm not talking school, I'm talking young adults who are finally waking up that the world isn't the way they think it's going to be. So I'm here today. It all started with my dad, David Wluka. And let's see if technology works. It works if I can find the remote. If not, I can just do that. I'm here. We came here in 1949. My mom and dad met each other at a DP camp in Salzburg, and I was born in Salzburg. And when we came here, he wanted to change his name from Wluka to Williams. My mother wouldn't let him. And he wanted Williams because it was sort of a derivative of Wluka. He was also in Europe, he was a Hank Williams fan, country western. And so he became Hank in this country, and everybody always called him Hank. But we kept the name, and for any number of reasons, it was a good thing. You've all seen the movies, you've all seen the documents, you've all seen the horrors of the Holocaust. He wasn't a witness, he was a participant, as was my mother. And they've been gone for a while. There are only a couple of Holocaust survivors left in the Boston area. Yom HaShoah is being celebrated today all over Massachusetts. The main one is up at 60 State Street, JCRC, and there are half a dozen temples around doing it. So I'm honored to be able to do it today here in this shul. It's a smaller version of when I grew up at the Fowler Street Shul in Dorchester, again with the women upstairs and this down here. And it's a beautiful, beautiful building. I'm so happy to be here. So the first thing I want to do is introduce you to my dad. And you heard him testing the sound, but here he is. My father and his fellow survivors, who were sort of the family that we grew up with, didn't talk about the Holocaust. In '88, it was the 45th anniversary of the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising, and my father, who had never wanted to get involved with coming back to Europe, decided he wanted to go. I said, I'll go with you. So we booked the tour. We were walking through Auschwitz on the tour, and he just started talking to me. This is what I saw here, and this is what I saw there, and then we sort of had to be quiet for the tour guide. People stopped listening to the tour guide and were listening to him.
You see how the bags, how small it is? 2 people were sleeping on each. He hit me straight with the butt. Straight in here, split that, and broke 4 teeth. They were killing for nothing.
There was a young woman with us with her mom doing the same thing, and she was in the film business. And she said, we have to go back and tell your father's story separately. The next morning, there were 2 white Mercedes taxis waiting at the hotel, and we had a sound person and a videographer and a producer. They kept the tourists aside, so we had access to filming both in Auschwitz and Birkenau. And so we had the day.
We came here to Auschwitz. We saw the name Auschwitz. They brought us in cattle wagons, which their windows were covered up with barbed wire, and we opened the doors. Right away it was a panic. The SS jumped outside. Raus, 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 raus. They took us out. Men's side, the women and children the other side. Left, right, left, left, right, left, left, right, just like that. We couldn't ask nobody where we're going, but the whole time they told us that the men still going to go to working camp and the women going to go to housing, where we're going to see him every day. So we believed them. They were shaved and stripped and tattooed. 83522, I'll never forget the number. And went into the Auschwitz, into labor camp. We got here to Auschwitz, we got into the hospital block, and we don't know what they're going to do with us. So they took me, and they saw I have good blood, some kind of good blood, I didn't know about it, and they started taking blood from me. One day, the rooms were open, so I went by, and I saw all my friends, they castrated. I was shocked. I'm here later taking blood, it's not so bad, but they already all castrated, all of them. In the film, someone asked him, to what do you attribute the fact that you survived? He said, I was lucky. I wasn't smart, and I wasn't brave. I was lucky. When I came here, and I saw naked men, women, and children running straight to the barracks, I was surprised when I saw women and men together naked. I said, something is wrong, because I didn't know where my family went a week before. So now I saw where they went, and then I saw a big ditch and smoke and fire smell of meat and everything. Then I know where my family went, how she disappeared. And that was the end of my family. Hearing the stories is one thing, being there is something else. When we lit candles at the blown up crematories in Birkenau, when he stood in the crematory and I stood in the crematory, that was tremendously moving and powerful. He knew where the ash pit was, where they buried the ashes, and he went down there and he poked around with a spoon he'd brought, and he pulled out ashes and bones. And we put him in a plastic bag, and we were taking him back with us. He got terribly emotional. There's one scene where he has his hands on the barbed wire, and where he talks about the deniers. there are a lot of people that say the crematorium never exists. Let them tell me that there wasn't crematoriums and there wasn't Auschwitz in Bergenau.
I think that's one of the reasons we wanted to make this film so badly, because when his generation is gone, there are no witnesses left. Having it put on film, having the story recorded was very cathartic for him.
My name is David Wluka, and I'm very happy that I'm telling this story, not just for my kids, but the world should never forget what happened. Next to me is my oldest son, David. I was supposed to come by myself, and he wouldn't let me go by myself. He says, Dad, wherever you go, I go to. And I'm very proud of him.
What was amazing about that whole period was being there and being with him and listening to his experiences and his feelings about what went on. I guess it was cathartic for me as well.
Technology is just wonderful. Come on. Well, while I'm doing this, I will tell you that, no.
My father,
This is 5 minutes of hours. We got the museum to basically keep the tourists away while we shot. And the young woman who was with us tried to get, it was the 45th anniversary, so you had film crews from all over the world. The 3 American stations were busy, the Israeli station was busy. We got Polish National Television film crew to sort of come with us. And so we spent the day. I have many, many hours. And one of my hopes, and this happened because as a BU alum, they send you the letter, what'd you do last summer? You know? And so I sent them the story. And I ended up doing a version of what you're going to see here to the incoming Soch class at BU every year until COVID hit. And then it grew from there to schools and Hebrew schools. I did it at Pope Francis School out in Springfield. As I said, I've done it many places. Let's see if I can get this guy to work. That's the terrible part. Of technology. Okay, I'm going to shut you off and turn you on again. I have, one of the stories was when we came back to the States, we had the bones and we had the ashes, which is illegal to remove from a country. And so we were at customs in Warsaw and we had the button on. And so the customs agent said in Polish to my father, "Are you one of the group who came?" My father started crying. He waved us through. We got to the U.S., got to Boston, and we were with a small group, and customs just said, "Welcome home." Come on. Come on, come on, come on. Okay, then I'm going to take my backup and use that one. Yeah. And this doesn't do well for the recording, I know. Hopefully we can cut that portion out. Ah, it works. Okay. So This is a map of Poland, and what you see here is Nowy Dwor and Warsaw. It's 20, 25 miles. It's like Sharon to Boston. In fact, it is a commuting suburb. They got commuter rail. People take their bikes into Warsaw to work. And what you see down below, it's about a 6 or 7 hour drive, is Krakow and Oświęcim, which is translated into Auschwitz. And so the first time, what you see too is the relationship of Poland and Nowy Dwor to Russia, to Belarus, to Ukraine, to Lithuania, to Russia. And Vilnius would be up where it says Great Masurian Lakes. Vilnius is sort of up there. But the Jews came in the 17 and 1800s to Poland from the pogroms in Ukraine. And my family came, well, so far we've traced them back to 1832. And what's really strange, of course, is now that you have anti-Semitism throughout the world, you have a Jewish president in Ukraine. So it's... the Auschwitz was the largest of all the camps, and there were 3 camps. There's a work camp, there is the death camp, and then a labor camp. And they did lots of scientific experiments, and my dad talked about some of them. They did muscle experiments on his arms. They did sterilization experiments. And he tells a story where men were laid in line, were standing in line, and you had to put your penis on this little thing, and a bell rang, and then you went. And he was next in line, and the guard hitting the button looked the other way. He put his thumb in. That's why I'm here. So this is in the 1700s, 1765, Jews came. And everything was more or less fine. I mean, the Jews were more than half of the population of Nowy Dwor. They had officials, mayors, and it was the Jewish publication center of Europe. Not religious stuff, scientific and novels and writing. There were 10 different publishing houses in Nowy Dwor through the early 1900s. (1939). It was still half the population of the city. They closed all the institutions. They shut down the synagogues. I know that my father's temple buried a Torah under the house of a neighbor, and when we went back in '88, we were looking for it, and it wasn't there. By December of '39, there were only 2,800 Jews left. Many moved to Warsaw, my grandmother among them. A number escaped to Ukraine, where they'd come from, but it was safer to be in Ukraine than it was to be in Poland. These are actual pictures from the Nowy Dwor ghetto. My grandmother died in the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising. My grandfather died before the war, so he was buried in the Jewish cemetery, which is part of why we're here today. In November, December of '42, the ghetto was liquidated. The last of the Jews were left, and my father and his 7 siblings went to Auschwitz. He was the only one to come out. He actually was in a formation in the morning and watched one of his brothers hanged. Of the 4,000 plus Jews that were there before the war, there are an estimate of about 400 that are alive today or who survived the war. There is a Nowy Dwor organization in New York. Outside of Jerusalem, there's a large cemetery with a Nowy Dwor section to it, and then there's us. There's also a book called Pinchas Nowy Dwor that was written by someone before we got involved, and it gives you a really good history of the Jewish presence in Nowy Dwor. As the film said, I went with my dad in '88. It was the 45th anniversary of the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising. And this is the monument to that. There were great ceremonies in '88 to that. And until then, my parents, well, not till then, till I was about bar mitzvah age, my parents didn't really talk about the Holocaust. And neither did with friends. I mean, we didn't have much family here. We had my mother's family that brought us over, but they didn't talk about it much. And our family were the other survivors. And we grew up with them. We grew up with their kids. I think they were too close to it. And around my bar mitzvah age, they began talking about it. They did have this social club that became the New Americans Association of Greater Boston, that now is part of generations after. My parents were both involved deeply. They were both presidents at one time or another. If you look at the groundbreaking ceremonies for the Holocaust Museum in Washington, D.C., my father's in the front row. They were on the committee that did the selection for the glass monuments at Boston. And they also helped create the Holocaust program at Brandeis over the years. So they're very, very deeply involved. In May of '88, I went to Warsaw, and we did all of this. My mother, who we lost to pancreatic cancer in 2018, who had never been in a hospital in her life except for childbirth, had a whole different story. She was, first of all, like my father, she spoke multiple languages. They all had to. She spoke Russian, German, Polish, Yiddish. They didn't speak Hebrew in those days. They spoke Yiddish. And she lived in the town of Podbrudge, which is just between Vilnius and the Ukrainian border. And she said she had to learn all these languages because she'd wake up in the morning and she'd be in a different country, and her bed didn't move. So when she was 13, she was playing at a Gentile girlfriend's on the farm next door. While she was there, again, that's why I'm here, the Nazis came, took her mother, father, and sister. Never saw them again. That family took her in and basically adopted her. She went to church, she learned catechism. They billeted the Nazis on the farm. She fed them breakfast. At the end of the war, they wanted to adopt her. And she said, no, I think I have family in Salzburg. And so at 16, she went 938 miles by herself from Podbrudge to Salzburg. Came to the DP camp. My father was there. She was an orphan. He was an orphan. Somebody made a shidduch. They knew each other 3 days when they were married. His wedding present to her was a pair of red leather boots. And on their 50th anniversary, my brothers and I made them an anniversary party. He was already getting lost to Alzheimer's, but we got them a pair of red leather boots for her anniversary. And then Rabbi Dan Kaplan married them again on their 50th, our rabbi then. And but I'd like you to meet her as well. One of the things she loved to do was sing and act. And you're going to see a dress rehearsal for her show at Wynmoor in Florida.
And my dream as a child was to be on a stage, not Broadway. I'm off Broadway, but it wasn't Broadway. But here I am in Wynmoor on stage. And after 75 years, my dream came true. And that's why I love to sing that song. Here it is. God bless America, land that I love, stand the light from above, from the mountains, through the prairies, to the ocean, white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, home, sweet home.
When she passed at the funeral, we did the normal woman of valor speech. Yeah, she wasn't a woman of valor; she was a force of nature. People would come in, and she would just overwhelm them with her personality. And I remember we were at our financial advisor who was taking care of her stuff, and she hadn't met her before. She was up in Florida. She came in for 5 minutes, left, and Lori said, "What was that?" What just happened? She gave him her whole life in 5 minutes. This was Nowy Dwor in the 20th century. And that was the marketplace, which later became the soccer fields. And my father played soccer in school, and then when he was out of school, he played for the plywood factory soccer team, and he was left wing, for the soccer team. Loved soccer. And as I said, the history goes back to the 1700s. We were walking down the street after we'd found his house, and we met this guy. And they both started crying and jabbering each other in Polish, which I don't speak. And I said, "What's going on?" And he said, "Well, when we were in the ghetto," he was on my soccer team, Uric. He would come at night and throw food over the fence. He'd throw vegetables, he'd just throw, and one night didn't come anymore. And so they said, like all the other Gentiles, they've forgotten about us. What happened was he got caught by the Nazis, spent 6 months in a concentration camp, and when he got out, the ghetto was already evacuated. We went back to his house. He's now retired public works director then. We met with him and his brother and his family, and they were singing school songs. And my father said, "I want to go see my father's grave." He said, "No, you don't." He said, "I want to go see where my father is buried." He said, "You really don't." So we went. And this is what we saw. They used the cemetery after the last evacuation, transport, as a gravel pit. It was nice concrete sand. And they mined it. They took the headstones out, and they lined the dirt roads in those days to carry the weight of the tanks and trucks, which they did in cemeteries all over Poland. So we went. There were more than 700 matzevot based on the size of the cemetery in those days. There were open graves. We said Kaddish over them. My father found a baby skull in one of the open graves, and so we took it along with the bones and ashes from Auschwitz. And after saying Kaddish, we determined that we're going to give the bones, ashes, and the skull a proper burial. So Sharon Memorial Park gave us a grave, gave us a grave site, and we had a service. Dan was there as well. Rabbi Kaplan came and we did the service. And like any other grave at Sharon, it has a plaque, and I'll read it for you because it's hard up there. These ashes and bones retrieved March 16th to 18th, 1988 from the crematories and concentration camps at Auschwitz, and the skull of a child found lying in an open grave in the desecrated Jewish cemetery at Nowy Dwor, carried with love to this place by Isaac Wluka and family to at long last rest in peace. So you can, if you go to there, again, it's like any other grave. So we came back, and my father said, we've got to do something about this. You can't leave. It wasn't a cemetery anymore. It was an abandoned piece of land. Gypsies had built houses on the other side of it from where the excavation was. But it wasn't meant to be, not for my dad, rest his soul. He was popping nitro in those days, came back, had a major heart attack, quadruple bypass, survived that. A year or two later, he ended up with colon cancer, had a resection, was on a bag for, almost a year, survived that. And then in his early 70s, he had early onset Alzheimer's. He didn't survive that, killed him in 2001. So this was off the radar. we got a call from a Zev Shaked. And Zev knew us because when he was at MIT, he would stay when my parents lived in Milton. But he lived in San Antonio, and he was a PhD chemist, but he owned a company that made women's pharmaceuticals. And he was coming to Boston for a convention. He wanted to see us. Came, I showed him the pictures from what had happened. He said, I'm going to Berlin on business. I'm going to go to Nowy Dwor and see. So this is 2009, 2010. Calls me from Nowy Dwor and says, since you were there in '88, nothing has changed. So he went and spoke to the city. His brother Joseph came from Israel, who emigrated to Israel after the war, and the city once again designated it a cemetery. They evicted the gypsies and tore down the houses. And we decided then that we were just going to fence it, now that it was a cemetery again. There was a cemetery across the railroad tracks, there was a cemetery, all active cemeteries, and this was just a piece of land. So we started to raise money to put a fence around the cemetery. And what we found also was that in addition to the cemetery, we found that in the Mazowiecki, which is sort of the county, it's like Bristol County, the Jewish records from Nowy Dwor had been taken there when the Nazis first came, so they didn't get them. So we have the written records going back a long time, to the early 1800s. We've traced my family back to 1832. We've had them scanned, and we work with the Holocaust Museum in DC a lot on the project, and they have them, and what they're trying to do is get the funds to digitize and make it a searchable database. Because we get calls all the time from people, my cousin, my uncle, my great-grandfather, you know, where did they live, what did they do, and all that. And so we've been working on that. Again, we traced our family back to 1832. Written records of my father's birth, my grandfather's marriage, they're all in there. What's interesting is before 1900, it's in Russian. After 1900, it's in Polish, but it's in Old Russian. And we have Russian friends and clients, they can't read it. Old Russian and New Russian are very different, apparently. So, at the same time that we were trying to fence it, we're building a new Jewish museum in Warsaw. Not a Holocaust, they have a Holocaust. This is a Jewish museum of Polish history. It was under construction then. Our last time there, it was finished. It's spectacular. And what's interesting is the stringer for the Polish newspapers when we were there in '88 and in 2011 is now the director of the museum. So last time we were there, we went for the soft opening. He took us through and speaks good English, so that's good. But they gave us, when they excavated for the foundation, they gave us the dirt. They trucked it that 25 miles. That's Joseph from Israel. And you can see they tried to fill the hole in. They couldn't. You can see the hill is there. There just wasn't enough dirt. See them putting up the fence. And something happened as we were getting ready to dedicate the cemetery again. They were doing utility work a few streets away. They found a matseva. They found a headstone. And they stopped. They came back with special equipment, with rubber forceps, and pulled them up. And there you can see Joseph on the left. To his right is Rabbi Michael Shudrik, who's the Grand Rabbi of Poland. And then we have, who's there? Nora, the guy in the white shirt, is a local. He owns a travel agency. He's just been one of our best friends helping us. And then that's, Zev, as they pulled up. We had a dozen of them. They pulled up. And they were beautiful. They'd been buried 10, 12 feet under the ground. They had survived. And that was 2010. They'd been under there for 70 years. And they had survived. Mayor Kowalski then said to us, "I'm very happy that I could have done this for you, but I'm not digging up perfectly good streets looking for more headstones." And Zev and I said, "Thank you very much. You know, don't expect you to do that." And we just thanked him. I did, when we were there, his brother, by the way, is a cantor in New Bedford. And he was also, the year that we were there, it was the year that the Red Sox won the World Series. I brought him a Red Sox hat. He said, "Thank you very much. I'm a Celtics fan." I called my brother in the States. We sent him a Celtics hat. So now we're having the ceremonies. There's Rabbi Shudrik. This is where the kids are involved. These are the kids from the Nowy Dwor schools. And the teachers had gotten involved, and the kids had gotten involved. They were very excited about what was going on. Remember now, no Jews in Nowy Dwor. No Jews. What had happened at the groundbreaking, and this is where Barney Frank gets involved, because I've known him since before he was in Congress, and I was his liaison for the National Association of Realtors, and we're friends otherwise. So he said to me, "What can I do to help you? I'm a member of Congress. I can't send you money." I said, "Just send a letter thanking the mayor. Just send a letter." So at the groundbreaking, they read a letter signed by Barney and 5 other members of Congress. The Polish newspapers pick it up. The Polish TV picks it up. And 2 weeks later, they're digging up the streets looking for more headstones. Found more than 100. So what do you do with them? You can't put them back. We don't know where they were in the cemetery. So we decided that we would build a wall and just display them on a memorial wall. And within a year after that, we'd raised enough money to build the wall. The local contractor was terrific. He did everything at dead cost. In fact, he still maintains it. He cuts the grass and he takes nothing, just whatever he's got to pay his guys. We have to pay him. He's been very good. So we went back for the dedication of the wall. That was 2011. So the first thing we did was do a tour. Again, there were many people who came back to dedication. They came from Israel. They came from all over the U.S. They came from South Africa. And they came from France, came from England. So we did a tour of Nowy Dwor. The building on the left was the last building in the ghetto. And it's been replaced with modern. Nowy Dwor is a very vibrant city and a very modern city. And we go on their Facebook page, and they have an awful lot that goes on there. That house burnt in 2014, so there are no more buildings in Nowy Dwor that are remnants of the ghetto. From there, we went to Pomohovic. Everybody knows about the major camps, Auschwitz, Bergen-Belsen, Dachau. There were 1,000 small camps, and Pomohovic was one of them, just outside of Nowy Dwor. And it was built by Napoleon during his conquest of conquest of Europe. It was an arms cache, arms depot. It was built into a side of a hill, and these were unsupervised by the Nazis. The locals wanted to do what they wanted to do, and no one did anything. It was a torture factory. It was just an awful place to be there. The day we were there, it was 90s outside. You walk into that tunnel 50, 60 feet, you can see your breath. And they put the Jews and others. This was not just for Jews. This was for anybody that the government didn't like. It's sort of an ice camp. But they left them in there with no food, no water, no nothing, and they just froze to death. And they also tortured them. Imagine being locked in there in the winter with nothing. Poland further had an interesting amendment on the 1998 Act of National Remembrance. It is against the law today in Poland to implicate Poles in the Holocaust. Up until a couple of years ago, you could go to jail. They amended that act. Now you can just get fined. So this is where, we were taken over by the Nazis. We were, not really what was going to happen. When historians do it, their books are banned. And so you have this push and pull, because in Nowy Dwor, they get it. They've been very supportive to this day. Mayor Kowalski retired. He's now the head of, he's the director of the airport outside of, in Mazowiecki. It's sort of like T.F. Green to Logan, Warsaw. But he's still a friend. But the new mayor has also been very, very good to us. As in my mother's story, and when I give my speeches at the ceremonies there, I say, look, there were terrible Germans. There were good Germans. There were terrible Poles. There were good Poles. Look at the ones that took my mother in, right? And there were terrible Jews who gave up their own. So not facing what actually happened and accepting it as they have in Germany is important. When we were taking we had a shuttle, a van we rented to go from Nowy Dwor to Auschwitz. The driver told us that when in elementary school, the kids are taught the Holocaust, and nearly every one of them goes to a camp at some time from middle school up. They go to a camp. This was Poland 2011, 2012, I don't know what's happening today because the world has changed there. So after the tour, we went to the community center, and it was evening of celebrating Jewish history. They had a historian come to the university. Avram Zhul, who was 90 then, and was a survivor of Nowy Dwor, was there, and he talked to us about his childhood in Nowy Dwor. And this choir, this singing group, were singing in Yiddish and Hebrew, and there isn't a Jew in that group. We had next night we had sort of a klezmer band, no Jews. They sang beautifully, and I have it all on audio, video, but there are no Jews. In Warsaw, it's fascinating. There is a large Jewish population. We stayed at the Marriott downtown once, and they have a kosher kitchen and do weddings and bar mitzvahs. And I learned from them that many of the new buildings in Warsaw are owned by real estate interests that are Israeli. So I found that really fascinating. Again, that was years ago. I don't know what's happening now. At the end of this, we had our essay competition. In addition to restoring the cemetery, and we haven't gotten there yet, we sponsor to this day a tolerance essay contest. It started with the Nowy Dwor schools. It's now expanded to the county. And the schools and the teachers are all very, very excited and participating. So Bartov Cheda was a winner in 2015. All the essays are up on our website, which is undergoing some changes now. He made one comment at the end of the essay that stuck in my head and is more relevant today than it was then. We must know that xenophobia, bigotry, nationalism, and hostility towards all the others are actions which sooner or later will lead every society to nothing. 15-year-old. So the next day, we finally went to the cemetery. That's the first time I saw the wall. And that's the picture BU used in their touching the stones. They've been buried for 70 years. I mean, just putting my hand on the stones, I broke up. I mean, it was amazing. It was overwhelming. It was profound. How he put them on, to this day, I don't know. You can't see fasteners, you can't see bolts, you can't see anything, but they're up there. These are the initial dedication ceremonies. The city set everything up. They gave us security, they gave us the sound systems, they put up the tents, they took care of everything for us. And you can see the staircase going up, and that was once all filled in. That's what we couldn't fill in at that point. We did go up. That's on the right, that's our grandson, Zach, who is now 27, married with an MBA. But he came with us. Our daughter came with us. Our granddaughter came with us, with Nancy and me, and then my brothers and other family came with us. You can see the height, upper left picture, of where we are versus where the wall is. And just beyond the cars is the commuter rail line. So people commuting back and forth to Warsaw see the cemetery every time they go by. And then I took some ashes that I had saved from our last trip to Auschwitz, and I spread them into one of the open graves. There were an occasional headstone that was still there. We left the top level as is. We didn't want to touch it. This is what it was. This is an Israeli group looking for their family names. We found a Wluka cousin. We found it says on the headstone, a midwife. We found a brewmeister. The poetry was in Hebrew, some was in Polish, some was in Russian, but we have a photograph of every single stone. That's the front of the wall. That's the back of the wall. So we took every little piece, and it had a place. But as you can see, that 112 matzevot took up the wall. We looked for more. We found one in the river, because they dumped some they couldn't use into the Nara River. We found one in the mud that was retrievable. Others had just been destroyed. We rented ground-piercing radar to go looking for more stones, and we found nothing. In 2017, we found that one in the river, and we dedicated it. So here are the ceremonies for the dedication. As you can see, very large group. That's where I gave my speech, and I talked about the fact that there were good Poles and bad Poles, and I didn't get arrested, so we're okay. Michael Schweitzer, the ambassador, was in South Africa that day, so he sent his chief assistant to come and speak. And he made the comment that a year before there was nothing here, and that it was amazing what can happen. There's Rabbi Shudrick, and the rabbi, for the past decade, we've seen this as one of the worst cemeteries in Poland in terms of its condition. It had been totally abandoned. It is now one of the best, if not the best, in Poland with this dedication. The ambassador said, this is Chi Ravner, this is a function of the new Poland, Polish democracy. I don't know if we could do today what we did then. But what he did say that was most interesting is people come from Israel, from the US, they see all the cemeteries, and if you go to the cemetery in Warsaw, it's not in great shape. And they complain to me, this is terrible, something should be done about it. And they go home. He says, you guys did something about it, which is very, very different. Mayor Kowalski and the new mayor, Sosinski, they remain strong supporters. And we have many, many friends, despite the nationalist right-wing movement. While our project can hardly take credit for that, I think it was a catalyst in opening up dialogue. I think it was important. That's Bill Haidt, representing the U.S. ambassador. There's my Celtics fan, Mayor Kowalski. And we had these beautiful ceremonies. The Israelis, the Polish school kids, each of the countries left something. There were poems read, there were songs sung. And this is, again, what we left was there. But when we did this, we said, this is what we did to retrieve and rescue those who had died before the Holocaust. What happened to the ones who died in the Holocaust? We haven't done anything for them, right? So the first thing we did on our website, we created a virtual yahrzeit wall, like these. And people would send us, and we put it up on the wall. But that wasn't enough. They needed someplace where they could really go. And so in 2013, the virtual wall became a real one. We built the yahrzeit wall across from the matzevot. And I wrote this, I'll read it to you. The people who are remembered here were among the Jewish citizens of Nowy Dwor who perished in the Holocaust. They have no graves. We honor their lives and bring them home to be with their families and friends once more. This is one of our friends, Aaron Lieb, who wanted to have a special one made for his family. It says, in May of 1941, Aaron Lieb Knecht buried 28 Jewish victims in the Jewish cemetery. A Gestapo soldier asked him, how many? Aaron said, 28. Soldier shot him and said, now there are 29. This is the Wluka wall. This is my cousin Tzvika in Israel's wall. These are all of our family who died in the Holocaust. And the wall, it's made of Swedish granite, and the people at the cemetery in Warsaw got us the people to engrave and set all this up. And the wall has room for more panels. So if you're standing in the middle, the wall's on the left and the matzevot are on the right. You're between them. And every family had them in. Again, the ceremonies for dedication of the wall. And then they were digging up the streets doing regular work. They found more. The Public Works project, we had no room on the wall, so we built another one. There's the second wall under construction. Again, no stone was left out. And we built a stone garden at the end for the little tiny chips that we found. And there's room now on the back of this wall for more if we ever find them. But that's what's there today. And once again, we had the essay contest, which we sponsor every year. Sadly, we can't be there every year. And what we do with the essay contest is we give a $1,500 scholarship to the first prize winner. The school gets $750. $1,000 to the second prize, school gets $5. $5 to the third prize, school gets $250. And it grew from, we had 30 or 33 the first year. When it went to the county, we have over 300 applicants who give their essays. And these are kids, right? And their writings are just brilliant, just brilliant. In 2013, my cousin Tzvika from Gedera, Israel, brought a bunch of kids over from Gedera to meet with their counterparts. The city sent the kids over, paid for the kids to come over. We had ceremonies, again at the wall, with the Polish kids and the Israeli kids, and then they had a good time. They played games, they sang. This is the future. This is what's going to save us. As much as we try, ain't going very far. This is in 2014, the only shot I had of both groups together. And Gedera has since sent the kids 2 or 3 more times. Of course, the war got in the way and COVID got in the way. But the school system in Gedera was committed to sending kids to here, and they've created everlasting relationships. I mentioned the Paper Clips project. If you don't know about it, in 1998, Linda Hooper was the principal of the Whitwell Middle School, had her history teacher come up to her and say, I'm trying to teach the Holocaust. I'm trying to get the concept of 6 million across to these 7th and 8th graders. What shall we do? And they decided to start collecting paper clips. The paper clips come from Norwegians. The Norwegians, when they were protesting the Nazis, wore a paperclip in their lapels. That's where it came from. Neither did I till I met these kids. And so they started collecting. Word got out. They ended up with 30 million paperclips. Steven Spielberg got involved. Barbara Streisand got involved. They got all involved from all over the world. A donor gave them a rail car. And so if you go to the Whitwell Middle School today, and we were there January 30th, Nancy and I, front of the school, rail car. And right now they're enclosing the rail car in a glass box. Right now it's open to the weather, so they're going to enclose it. And I made the presentation without this slide because it didn't exist yet. And they have a Holocaust Learning Center, that's the lower right, where they have artifacts from the Holocaust. The docents, the teachers, are the kids. There's an English teacher who manages the Holocaust Learning Center. She has a master's degree in Holocaust studies. This is Whitwell, Tennessee. No Jews. This is Appalachia. Right? It's half an hour, 45 minutes from Chattanooga. And it's truly, truly amazing. My dad, rest his soul, was a strong fighter. for the Jews, as you saw. He was a very gentle guy. I mean, this is a guy who, as a Protestant, killed people. His goal in life was to make you happy. He was happiest when other people, he was always taking care of other people. Always. And it's sad that he survived cancer and a heart attack and then Alzheimer's and the Holocaust. And he said he had special blood, by the way. I didn't bring that up. He had AB negative blood, which is the rarest blood type. They bled him every week for the German soldiers who didn't know they were getting Jewish blood. Of my two siblings and myself, I'm the only one with AB negative blood. They told me in the service if I was on the front lines, they couldn't get blood to me. And when I go for surgery, I donate for myself because it's very, very tough to get. So, where do we go from here? We keep looking for more headstones. We keep trying to get the the records translated. We keep doing the tolerance essay contest. And some parting words. Elie Wiesel, I took a class with him once at BU, that long ago. My greatest disappointment is that I believe that those of us who went through the war and tried to write about it, about the experience, became the messengers. We've given the message. Nothing changed. He also said, never forget, never again. It's happening. Dr. Martin Luther King said this that no one really remembers. I found it and I remembered. Everything that Hitler did in Germany was legal. Everything going on in this country today is legal, unless we fight it in court. Also a BU guy. His records, in fact, his family donated all of his records to Boston University. I wanted some parting visual for you. This is at the Holocaust Memorial in Miami. It's about 50 feet tall, and it shows people crawling up the hand to get out, which is them in the gas chambers crawling over each other to try to get out. It's a very powerful piece. And then the granite wall in the back has survivors' names on it, and my parents donated to it, and their names are on that wall, among other places. These are pictures I took at Auschwitz, and this is where I try to get this across to the kids. You see the red shoe in the middle? I put it there on purpose. Those aren't shoes, those are people. Every shoe is a person. Every suitcase is a person. Every prosthetic, those were arms and legs and crutches, and everyone is a person. When my grandson Zach, and I gave the one at the Polish embassy, he talks about the children who went in. He also talks about the fact that they took the hair and they weighed it and they sent it to Germany. It was woven. My father survived, among other things, because he was a Sonderkommando. When they took the ashes out of the crematory, they got to pick out the gold from the teeth. That's how he stayed alive, besides his blood. He also, my grandfather was a blacksmith. My father worked on one of the crematories as a bricklayer. And when he came to this country, his first job was as a bricklayer on the Franklin Hill projects across from Franklin Field in Dorchester. They fired him in a week. He was working too fast. Union said, "You can't be here." Of course, there was nobody with a gun behind him, making sure he worked. Then he went to work for my uncle in the TV business. So, this is our family in Poland. If my dad and mom hadn't survived, almost none of us would be here today. They're from Israel, Australia, my brothers, my nieces, and of course, once again, that sticks in my head. You've got to remember it. Never again, to me, has lost its meaning because, again, this happened. Zachor, there's a whole foundation, the Zachor foundation, remember. And that's what we have to do. We have to remember. Never again doesn't work. And finally, the concept of tikkun olam. One little thing. You know it as repairing the world. One little thing that you do to make the world a better place, to fight anti-Semitism, to fight racism, to fight bigotry, to fight autocracy. One little thing. It's called, in fact, they talk about it in Whitwell, the butterfly effect. If you know what that is. So that's what it's all about. Thank you very much. Any questions? That's fine. Okay. No, I'm glad I had the chance to do this. Thank you. Rabbi?
Just wanted to say thank you. I really appreciate this amazing presentation. Thank you all for coming here, and I believe we have some food downstairs.
Okay.
So I'm just one more lap round of applause.
That's fine.